Everybody, it's Dr. Levitt here, and I have a story for you. It's one I think you're going to enjoy a lot. This is a story about snake oil, and it's certainly a tale that I get a lot of mileage out of when I'm talking about naturopathic or natural medicine with my conventional medical colleagues, conventional physicians who have some skepticism about the kind of medicine I practice. So let's talk about snake oil for a minute. You may not know this, but in the mid to late 1800s is when we were building the transcontinental railroad, the railroad that traversed the entire United States. And in order to accomplish such a massive building project, the U.S. government brought in hundreds of thousands of workers from other countries. Many of them were from China, right? And so the Chinese workers often brought with them all sorts of things from home, including their medicine kits, right? And these Chinese medicine kits often included snake oil, right? Snake oil that was manufactured from snakes that live in China, and it was actually Chinese water snakes that this oil was made from, the rendered fat from the flesh of the Chinese water snake. So remember that for a minute. Chinese water snakes actually eat fish and marine organisms, and that's what this Chinese water snake was made, snake oil was made from. So this snake oil was used both internally and topically to treat the aches and pains and the sort of bruises and bumps related to work on the railroad. And it became a very popular remedy, even amongst other workers, including Americans and other immigrants working on the railroad. It didn't take long for American medicine men and entrepreneurs to catch on to this idea that there was this miracle oil being brought over from China, and it was called snake oil, and they started to make their own, right? So there were snakes in the American West, and these medicine men began to capture black and red rattlesnakes is what they used, and rendered the fat and turned this into the American version of snake oil. That started to sell briskly, and these snake oil salesmen would travel in their wagon from town to town selling their wares, this rattlesnake oil, to workers on the railroad. And then after a while, these rattlesnakes were difficult to catch and the oil was difficult to render, so a lot of these snake oil salesmen started to make quote snake oil out of mineral oil. It was a petroleum distillate product, had no medicinal activity whatsoever. And these were the quacks, these were the charlatans that were selling mineral oil, or in some cases actual rattlesnake oil, as a substitute for the Chinese snake oil. Now here's where it gets really, really interesting, right? More modern research has looked into what this Chinese water snake oil is all about, and it turns out that inside of Chinese water snake oil there are gargantuan amounts of omega-3 fatty acids. In fact, there's more eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA we call it, in Chinese water snake oil than there is in any other source, including fish and sardines and anchovies and salmon, which we use as a source of omega-3 fatty acids. So Chinese water snake oil is very rich in omega-3 fatty acids and has been shown in multiple studies to be a very useful anti-inflammatory agent, both internally and topically. So the moral of the story is that snake oil actually worked. It worked when it was the real stuff, the Chinese water snake oil from China, and it didn't work when it was the American oil, because black and red rattlesnakes eat rodents and they have a very different fatty acid profile in their flesh, and the mineral spirits that was the real quack medicine didn't really work at all. So I love this story because I think it represents sort of medicine coming full circle, right? Snake oil actually worked. Remarkable stuff. So I hope you enjoy that, and take good care.